Thanks for listening to talknorth.com, and thanks to our sponsor, Bite Squad, bitesquad.com, or on the Bite Squad app. Our special deal this weekend is celebrating the Gopher women's volleyball team making it to the NCAA tournament and celebrating their first-round games. Use promo code GophersVB. Obviously, this is in volleyball. GophersVB, all one word. Starting on Thursday night, running through Sunday night, you will get 10% off of your order. It will work one time for anybody this weekend. Gophers VB at bitesquad.com or on the Bite Squad app. Thanks again to our listeners who participate in these Bite Squad specials, and thanks, of course, to Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Food for your mood delivered. It's getting fun, Tim. Big games in November, leading up to big games in December, presumably some big games in January. This is kind of why we do this. This is certainly why they do what they do. Vikings going to Foxborough, this time without Brett Favre and Randy Moss, which we can get into that later. It's going to be a blast. This is the Viking Update Show with star Tim Yoder, publisher of vikingupdate.com. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune. Thanks to WizKids.tech. Twill in the Edina Galleria, Mississippi Pub, Beaver Island Brewing, FixologyRepair.com, and Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent in Champlin. Listen, I don't want to be hypocritical. I won't say I never wrote a column or a story as a beat reporter that I didn't regret. I'm not saying I never quoted a source who ended up not being the best source on a subject. But we do have to get away from TV doctors. We can't have Dr. Nick from The Simpsons diagnosing a hamstring injury.
I thought it was funny. I saw a bunch of tweets about all these drug addiction doctors from TV coming out, and I can appreciate. So what Jim's referencing here, Xavier Rhodes gets hurt. It's pretty obvious it's a hamstring from the area that he's grabbing, and a doctor that used to work for the San Diego Chargers, who has become kind of a big thing on Twitter at trying to diagnose injuries, came up and said, he's really worried that Rhodes' injury is going to require surgery. Well, based off his reaction, Xavier's reaction after that injury, I can see where he came up with that. And then in the locker room afterwards, watching him try to move around, go from locker to locker, it's pretty clear this was a big injury. And in today's media world, Twitter world, I don't mind this doctor coming out and trying to give diagnosis because, number one, you take it for what it's worth. Everybody there knows he hasn't seen an MRI. Nobody had at that point. And in the NFL, with how secretive things are with injuries, I don't mind somebody who has expertise speculating on things. But as long as you know that it's speculation, that's fine. But I got a kick out of Zimmer because obviously this irked him. I think whether this guy, Dr. David Cho, would have been right or wrong, it would have irked Zimmer that somebody's out there talking about injuries who has no affiliation with the team. So,
no, we really need to do to drive Zimmer crazy. We need to have Pro Football Focus start speculating in injuries.
Well, yeah.
That would be awesome.
David Cho has actually been hired by other media outlets to kind of be an injury expert. And look, ESPN's got their own. Stefania Bell, I think, is their injury expert. So I don't really have a problem with it as long as the NFL is going to be so secretive about injuries and, not forthcoming. So the only time that the Vikings have really been proactive with injuries is when it's a star player like Adrian Peterson with a serious injury. Otherwise, they don't make their trainer, Eric Sugarman, available on a regular basis. I mean, it's got to be a pretty strong injury for them to come out and say what's going on, what sort of timeline there is. So have at it.
It also, they usually do it when they think it's going to make them look good.
Yeah,
look what we did with E.J. Henderson. And I get it.
That's fine.
But they aren't that forthcoming with any other injury.
Right.
Any injury surrounded in mystery.
Well, and when Teddy Bridgewater went down on the practice field, they were very quick to whisk away the media, so we didn't see what was going on. And in some instances, I get it because, in that case, what we found out later was it wasn't only a threat to his career, it was a threat to his leg and possibly his life.
I certainly support them doing that.
Yeah, so there are times that I get it when things are that serious, but they continued to leave that whole injury shrouded in mystery for a year, as he's rehabbing. What exactly was the injury? They never really came out and said beyond multiple ligaments. They didn't say it was basically every ligament possible that he tore in that knee. So, Zimmer calling the Dr. David Cho the TV doctors and saying he was very erroneous. I mean, I got a kick out of it. I get why Zimmer is upset, but I also get the play that there is with having somebody who knows what he's talking about. I wouldn't like it if it was just some Joe who has no medical degree sitting on Twitter saying, oh, that looked terrible, it's probably this. In this case, I don't mind. The guy's worked in the NFL. He's got a medical degree. And I think it's pretty clear because he always says, by video, this is what I'm seeing. So he's not pretending to have seen any sort of scan or MRI or anything to diagnose the injury.
And we still don't know if Rhodes, what if Rhodes is out for 3 weeks? Then he's going to end up looking right. You don't really know.
Well, and that's the thing that so many of the people on Twitter that have responded to my tweets about it have said, Zimmer lies about injuries all the time, which is true.
True.
So, when Zimmer on Wednesday says he thinks there's a good chance that Rhodes could play this Sunday, I don't believe that. My eyes saw what they saw in the locker room. I asked Rhodes if he would talk, and he was pretty specific that he wasn't going to talk, and it was, he had to get an MRI. And I saw how he moved around, and I saw that he wasn't practicing on Wednesday. So all of that says, despite Zimmer saying there's a good chance, I would say there's not a very good chance that Rhodes plays. And that's, again, that's my speculation. So
good speculation, though. I like it. Hey, by the way, we do some these promos in conjunction with this show or the Russo show. We have a special thing this week. All weekend, starting from Thursday morning through Sunday night, you can get 10% off your Bite Squad or bitesquad.com or Bite Squad app order using Gophers VB, celebrating the Gopher volleyball being in the tournament. Gophers VB will get you 10% off Bite Squad or bitesquad.com. We appreciate you doing that. Also want to say, please download before you listen. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. And if you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com, jsuhan47@gmail.com. So Belichick almost became a Viking.
Well,
kind of.
Sort of is what he said. He said he was pretty close to becoming the Vikings defensive coordinator. Now, the part that I found funny about this, he may have seriously considered it, and based off of him telling the story, it sounds like when Les Steckel offered him this job in '84, that it wasn't really about Les Steckel, it was more about Floyd Reese, that Belichick had worked with him before and thought highly of him, so I could see him considering this job. However, the thing that I found humorous about his answer was, at the end, he said, it worked out pretty good for everyone. Well, I don't think it worked out real well
for Les Steckel, no.
or the Vikings. So, but, when you look at what Les Steckel put those 1984 Vikings through, and you look at what Bill Belichick is even now, really, oh boy, things could have been worse for the players. The militaristic.
Well, if you look at the way Belichick was received when he first went to Cleveland.
Yeah. Yep.
It was not good.
No, I know.
He started turning it around. The funny thing is he was starting to turn around when he got fired, but when he first got there, everybody hated his guts.
Yes. And, I think it's funny how coaches have evolved over the years where they get it a little bit more instead of pounding, players' bodies throughout 6 weeks of training camp and 2-a-days, full pads, the way it used to be in the 80s and even the early 90s, to coming around to, maybe it makes more sense to take care of their bodies and just make sure that they are mentally sharp during the season.
Now Gronk hardly practices.
Right. Well, and Zimmer has taken on over the past several years this late season schedule to get players out of the facility a little earlier during the day. He kind of flips that switch around Thanksgiving, and so this week is the first week that things are earlier on Thursday, more like a Friday practice. So I think he understands the benefits of not wearing down players so hard with the physical aspect of the game.
Thanks to WhizKids.tech, WHIZKIDS.tech. Let them be your chief technology ally. And also, if you're ever in downtown Minneapolis, check out their billboard on Washington Avenue.
Hello, Minnesota sports fans. This is Michael Thanner, founder and CEO of WhizKids. WhizKids is a Minneapolis-based managed IT, hosted VoIP, and cloud services provider. Businesses today require fast response times, skilled support staff, clear communication, and technology recommendations that align with their business goals. At WhizKids, we do this each and every day with our clients. When you call into our help desk for support or work with one of our higher-level engineers on a complex issue, you'll find our staff personable and ready to roll up their sleeves to help you solve your technology problems. Reach out to WhizKids today to find out how we can help your business meet your technology goals. Visit us online at whizkids.tech. That's whizkids.tech. WhizKids, make it happen.
So Belichick had nice things to say about the Vikings. Of course, he always has nice things to say about everybody.
Yeah, and that's a funny thing. But, he did praise Mike Zimmer and what he thought of him as a coach and said, first of all, the system he views as being very sound. And one of the narratives that's come up this season has been, Zimmer talking about other teams starting to copy his defense and try to employ what they do. And so maybe other teams that are playing the Vikings don't have to spend as much time trying to figure out exactly what they're doing on defense because I've seen it from other teams that they've played. I get it. When people have success, it's going to be copied, and certainly the Vikings defense is viewed as one of the best in the league over the past few years. But ultimately, not every team can do what the Vikings do on defense because they don't have the same personnel. And so I think it's interesting to watch, which other teams are trying the double A gap blitzes and the bluffs and all of that. And frankly, the Vikings have backed off of a lot of what they were doing earlier in the season and what they had been doing the past 2 or 3 years with Zimmer and adjusted. So to me, the sign of a good coach is playing into your players' strengths, but also adjusting things as the season goes along or as the years go along. And I think Zimmer has started to figure that out too, that he can't, do the same thing every time. He talked about that even last year, playing the Saints in the playoffs, saying, I kind of called the same defense several times at the end of the game when Drew Brees was driving, and I just can't do that against a veteran quarterback. So even for as many years as Zimmer has had in the league, I find it refreshing. I find it a good tactic to be able to not only adjust, but to be willing to admit that you need to adjust at times.
Let's talk about the Vikings defense. I do want to thank Twill in the Edina Galleria. I've done a bunch of shopping there lately. My wife loves going there and buying clothes for me, which is good because I'm not very good at shopping for myself, as everybody who knows me would know. Twill can actually make me look good. Think of what they can do for you.
Jim usually doesn't like to shop for clothes. I don't like it when he shops for clothes either, because he used to buy stuff I'd want to throw out. That's why I'm so glad he's found Twill in the Edina Galleria. He likes shopping there because of the comfortable environment and the friendly staff. He finds clothes that actually fit him properly and are high-quality brands that will look great for years, whether he's golfing or working. Our favorites so far are Peter Millar, Johnny O, and Barber. We spend our money at Twill because we love the clothes and we love the no-pressure shopping. Drop by Twill in the Edina Galleria for the best shopping experience and best clothes you'll find in the Twin Cities.
So the defense, after all the problems, struggles, injuries, is getting back to a point where you can recognize it as one of the best in the league.
Yeah, and, to me, I find it interesting that through a month in the season, they were not very good. And it takes quite a bit to turn it around from that to the rankings that they've got now, which shows how good they've been in the last month. So they're third overall in defense, but they're also fifth in yards per play. They're tied for fourth in rushing yards per play, third in rushing yards per attempt. The pass game, the pass defense has been really good, and the amount of of sacks per pass play. They're